We're here with North Carolina Central University head football coach Jerry Mack. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Oh, thank you, Kyle.
And this is the first time you're pulling together a staff of coaches that's going to be a part of your team. So talk about the process. What was that like? What kind of things are you looking for in a coach?
You know, the first thing I was looking for is men of great character. You know, I've been knowing these guys for a while now, and haven't ever worked with those guys on a staff. So I always knew at every stop that I went to that I wanted an opportunity to work with some of these guys. So you know, I was looking for men of great character. That was the first thing. The next thing is I definitely wanted guys that were great football coaches, X's and O's, and I wanted men that could be role models to our guys. And those were probably the three main things as a criteria that I look for in that staff.
All right, so I'd like to go through now each coach individually, and you just tell me a little bit about each one of those coaches as far as why you brought them on board. First, we'll talk with two coaches that you retained from the previous staff. First, the special teams coordinator and linebackers coach, Mike Mendenhall.
I think obviously Coach Mendenhall came to us, and you know, they were lights out on special teams the last couple of years. You know, when I reviewed the statistics, and then when I had a chance to sit down and talk with Coach Mendenhall, you know, one of the things that he said was our guys want to play special teams. And that was one of the things that just jumped out at me. You know, a lot of times on different staffs I've been on, it's been like pulling teeth to try to get guys to play special teams. But when he said guys have a fire in their eye and they want to be a part of special teams, then obviously the proof was in the pudding, and he showed that. Coach George, you know, we're going to move Coach Andre George to the cornerback position. That's a little bit more of a natural position for him. Obviously, he played that position here in North Carolina Central, and I think he's a great mentor to our young men. You know, not only is he a graduate, he's experienced with those guys. He got a kind of bond with that group, and I just felt like moving forward. When I got a chance to sit down with him and talk about some of his goals, he's a young, up and coming coach, and you know, he seemed very, very hungry to be highly successful. And that's what I want. I wanted that group to feel his passion and see his vision as well.
Okay, and speaking of playing the cornerback here at NCCU, another guy that roamed to the secondary here and actually coached here for a spell is Adrian Jones, who's going to be coming on board as running backs coach. Talk about him.
I think, you know, he's a very diverse background because, one, he played in the defensive secondary, and for the last couple of years at Southern Durham, he's been on the offensive side of the ball. So there was no doubt when I brought Adrian on board, I didn't really need to spend a lot of time with him talking X's and O's because he's worked on both sides of the ball. So he brings great perspective on both sides. So the next thing I just wanted to know was, you know, what he's been doing for the last couple of years is, can he handle his room? Will his players look to him, and will they get that sense of respect, and will they move with a sense of urgency? And he's been demanding that at Southern Durham. As you can see, he's been highly successful. So I knew, you know, we're getting a steal. We're getting Adrian from Southern Durham. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Great. And a defensive coordinator and a safeties coach, Granville Eastman. Talk about him.
Granville Eastman is a man that I've known for my entire coaching career. I've worked with Granville in and out of high schools. We got in the car and recruited together almost at every stop I've been at. And one thing that always struck me about Granville was no matter what school we went into, no matter where we went, no matter how good of a player that kid was, he was always going to try to throw his bid in. And that was one thing that always jumped out at me. Like, man, that guy, he may not come there, I don't think. But Granville didn't care. He's just a bulldog. You know, no matter where we at on the road recruiting, he's always been a bulldog. And I think, you know, when people really look at it and they do some research, they'll see that, you know, Austin Peay just received scholarships not too long ago. So they were always playing with limited amount of scholarships, and they were still able to be highly competitive at that level. OVC is one of the top conferences in the country. And Granville is a great man, a character, extremely intelligent football coach, done several internships all over the NFL, has a Canadian background, over 10 years of defensive coordinator experience, and I think he brings a lot of that to the table.
Great, great. Talk about the new recruiting coordinator and wide receivers coach, Chris Buckland.
You know, obviously that's a position that's kind of near and dear to me because that's a position I've been coaching for a while. So one thing I wanted to do when I got that position was hire a man with energy. And I think if anybody spent any time with Coach Buckland, they'll know he's full of energy. And he's another one. You know, he moves with a sense of urgency. And, he's going to be a reflection of how we want our offenses to play. He's going to be a reflection of how I want the staff to attack every day, from recruiting to building our program.
All right, great. And now the quarterbacks coach, T.C. Taylor.
T.C. Taylor is an interesting situation because T.C. started his career as a quarterback and then eventually moved to wide receiver. And I got a chance to spend some time in the NFL at the wide receiver position. I got a chance to go to a junior college level and coordinate, and then spend some time over there at Texas Southern. One thing about TC is he's a very extremely intelligent coach, and he's a student of the game. And when I put the staff together, I wanted to put the offensive staff, especially from those skill positions, guys that had a hunger and guys that always wanted to learn, and guys that were going to think outside the box and be creative. Coach Buckner is coming to us. He's had a chance to be heavily involved in play calling, and Coach Taylor has called plays before. So I think when you put guys like that in the room, they can give a different perspective than other guys.
Right. And now offensive line coach Jason Anyeuaga.
Yeah, we just call him Coach O. We just call him Coach O. When I was looking for an offensive line coach, I wanted a background that was a tempo, one back, what we're going to be offensively. Coach O was over in North Carolina a few years ago, and he had a chance to learn our system. Eventually went to Syracuse, and they just got through playing in a bowl game, so he was a great player in Northern Illinois. Coach O brings a vast amount of experience, and not only that, the thing that struck me the most about him was he has a passion to develop offensive line. I mean, that is his passion. Some offensive line coaches, they played other positions. Coach O played the position. He knows the position. He knows our system in and out. And I think when I got a chance to talk to some of his references that were highly, highly respected in our business, they all said the same thing. Coach, I don't know how long you're going to be able to keep him, and I know I got to grab him before he gets away.
That's a good problem to have.
Yes, it is.
And how about your tight ends coach and video coordinator, Mike McCarthy?
Coach McCarty, I've known for a few years. I met Coach McCarty actually when I did an internship with the Jets. He was actually working with Coach Bill Callahan, offense coordinator with the Cowboys, and he was helping him out with the offensive line. And then later on, I know Mike went on to Western Michigan, and he was the video coordinator, so he brings extensive background in that aspect. Able to go to Tulane, and they just got through playing in the New Orleans Bowl. And one thing about Coach McCarty is he's just an extension of our offensive line. That knowledge that he has from our offensive line is, and to push that to our tight ends is going to be extraordinary. I mean, that guy, he can get in there and he can coach offensive line, he can coach running backs. He is an extreme student of the game, and that's what I'm mostly impressed with Mike.
Okay. And the assistant defensive line coach, John Bradley.
John Bradley, me and Coach Bradley were teammates at Arkansas State. And one thing about John Bradley is, he brings that background. He GA'd for Coach Gus Malzahn that played for the national championship this year. And not only that, Coach Bradley played in the NFL. He will bring that demeanor to our defensive line, that tough, nasty demeanor that we're going to need up front. He also will bring that experience because his experience is in NFL. So he knows the techniques and things like that to help our young men get to the next level.